You're watching the KOAM Morning News on Fox 14. Today, Missouri lawmakers put their heads together to try and come up with a way to redistrict the state.
It is a red flag warning kind of day. We'll break down our fire weather dangers and a look at the impending cold front from the Skywatch Weather Center.
And we have the remarkable story of an 80-year-old Valentine's Day card turning up in an antique store and the effect it has on one family. All that and more coming up.
The four states' most watched news starts now.
Thanks for joining us for the KOAM Morning News on Fox 14. I'm Tanya Bach. A Missouri prosecutor decides not to bring charges against a St. Louis Post-Dispatch journalist who exposed a state database flaw, one that allowed public access to thousands of teachers' Social Security numbers. Cole County Prosecutor Locke Thompson released a statement saying the issues at heart of the investigation have been resolved through non-legal means. Republican Governor Mike Parson announced the investigation in October after a Post-Dispatch reporter informed the state of a significant data issue that left the teachers' data vulnerable to public disclosure. Newspaper held off for publishing a story about the flaw until the state fixed it. Leader of the Missouri Senate says he wants to find a magic path to an agreement on a congressional redistricting plan for his state. Senate met in a rare Saturday session as a filibuster by a conservative coalition continued. Republicans hold 6 of the 8 U.S. House seats. Redistricting plan passed by the Missouri House is projected to continue that. But conservative senators are pushing for a map that could give Republicans a shot at 7 seats. Meanwhile, in Kansas, officials face 2 lawsuits over a Republican redistricting law. Lawsuits filed on Monday challenge a map that cost the state's only Democrat in Congress some of the territory in her Kansas City area district she carries by wide margins in elections. A team of attorneys filed a lawsuit in Wyandotte County District Court in the Kansas City area. American Civil Liberties Union of Kansas filed another shortly afterward. The lawsuits argue that the map enacted last week is unacceptable because it splits Kansas City, Kansas, and decreases the number of minority voters in U.S. Representative Sharice Davids' district. Republicans reject those criticisms. The COVID-19 pandemic has been a part of our daily lives for nearly 2 years now, leaving many feeling like it will never come to an end. But while officials say COVID-19 isn't likely to come to an end, there is an important transition ahead. KOAM's Chris Warner explains.
The Spanish flu pandemic of 1918 began as that, a pandemic. It ultimately mutated into what we know today as the flu, making it an endemic. Freeman's Infection Prevention and Control Manager Jessica Liberty explains the difference.
With the pandemic, we believe that there will be an end of the disease. With an endemic, there is no end to the disease. So you just learn to live normal life with its existence.
Larry Bergner, administrator of the Newton County Health Department, says what he's heard says we may be heading to an endemic stage with COVID.
I think most of the scientific community would agree or thinks that it will be with us for a long, long time, maybe indefinitely like the flu. I think COVID is heading in that direction.
But what does it mean when COVID transitions from a pandemic to an endemic?
What that allows us to do is it allows us to live as normal as we can while still knowing that it exists, but that we're not completely throwing our whole life upside down with it still being here.
Liberty says when that time comes, it may be a difficult shift for some.
And I think for us as a community, we need to kind of prepare our minds for a little bit of a shift. You know, we've been so hyper-focused on COVID pandemic measures that there's going to have to be a mind shift for us to be able to get us to a place where we can live with it.
Liberty says there's always hope. And while there's no specific timeline as to when a transition may occur, things are looking up.
Guidance has continued to shift from the CDC, so they're looking at preparing us for that. So I think, we're going to get to a really good place where we continue to take measures to protect ourselves, but it's going to be sustaining. So it's not an extreme measure that we have to continue to take. So I'm really excited to see what 2022 holds, because I think that we'll ultimately reach a place where we can coexist with COVID.
I'm Chris Warner for KOAM News.
Both Bergner and Liberty say COVID numbers are dropping from the county and hospital perspectives. Both also say another thing that will help move us toward an endemic stage will be more ways to treat COVID. Well, if you're nuts about nuts, then go nuts! You've got the perfect excuse. February 15th is National Almond Day. A few fun facts about almonds from Foodimentary. Ancient nut is mentioned several times in both the New and Old Testament as symbols of divine approval. While roasted almonds are delicious, don't eat them raw. The prussic acid in them can kill you if you eat more than a handful. I did not know that. In fact, you can tell if someone has been poisoned with cyanide if they smell like roasted almonds. Almonds have you covered if you've got a sweet tooth. They're one of the primary ingredients in marzipan. And why not wash that goodness down with a tall glass of almond milk? It's not just a name, it's really made from almonds. Did you know unroasted almonds were poisonous?
No, I didn't. I have a distaste for almonds, so it's not something I've ever had to worry about.
Oh, I love roasted almonds.
No, I'm
assuming all the packages of them that you buy in the store are already roasted.
just good old-fashioned salted peanuts. That's about the extent of it. I'm a joy to have around holidays, folks, when you buy the can of mixed nuts, because I won't touch anything but the peanuts.
Do you pick out the ones you want?
Yep, you guessed it.
Well, we would be fine because you can have all the peanuts and I'll eat everything else.
Yep. And yes,
Peanuts are okay, but I prefer the almonds, definitely.
Okay. See,
And
there you
that's
go.
a cashew, not an almond. There you go.
And also too is to the point where I'm not good identifying the different types of nuts, because quite frankly, if it's not a peanut, I really don't worry about it.
Walnuts are good.
Out of sight, out of mind. Kind of how I treat it.
What about like a breakfast bar and you don't know what's in it? It just has nuts in it.
I'm not gonna
has
eat it.
You're not going to touch it because
I
it's
don't-
like it could have a nut that you're not a fan of.
Right. I don't have any allergies or anything either. Just don't like them.
Oh, okay. Good to know. Michael, peanut
Somebody told me a long time ago, if you don't like it, don't eat it. It was not my mother, by the way. She made me try everything.
Yes.
Live look outside of Television City. Gorgeous looking start. It was 1 year ago today. We set a record low at Joplin Regional Airport, dropped down to 8 below zero. We're a far cry from that now. But I tell you what, we've got our own hazards to contend with here on the 15th of February. That is going to be a red flag warning. Stretches all across the Midwest down to the southwestern portion of the United States. Just as a quick little reminder and primer, red flag warning indicating high winds, low humidity, and perfect conditions for fires to spread out of control and do so quickly. Please no outdoor burning. Sometimes we just talk about elevated fire concerns. Sometimes we have the high wind advisory. Today, we're to the point where the National Weather Service actually throwing up a warning with these conditions. You'll notice it does not expire until 7 o'clock tonight. Wind hasn't really picked up too much as of yet. We're kind of in between that 10 to 15 mile per hour range, say about 10:30, 11 a.m. That's when we'll consistently be around 20 to 25 miles per hour. And then this afternoon, we're going to gust up to 40 miles per hour. But since it comes out of the south, wonderful temperatures, considering we're in between the 30s and 40s right now. And that's a good, but look at that. Look at Miami. That's 20 degrees warmer in Miami right now than what it was at this point in time yesterday. We're starting to see in the upper plains, look at the top of the screen there, we're starting to see that low pressure system with that cold front gather up some of that energy, slowly sink across the Canadian border right there. But before it gets here, because it won't be here till tomorrow night, before it gets here, temps in the mid 60s today. Love that. Remember, -8 1 year ago today. And now we're talking about being in the 60s 1 year later. We do have a severe thunderstorm risk that I want to point out, mainly below I-44. And reason being that will be, that'll come with us with the cold front, because our rain starts off as scattered for Wednesday morning. Not too bad, and it won't affect our morning commute. Wednesday evening, here we go. Now we begin to roll. Got some heavy rain, some thunder and lightning in there. As we push past midnight, that's our severe thunderstorm risk map along south of I-44. Freezing rain on top of that, and that's going to be pre-sunrise, so we will have the black ice to deal with, and then we're going to transition into snow for Thursday morning into the afternoon. Temperatures drop from, say about 50 at midnight down to the 20s for Thursday afternoon.
We had our warm-up, continue it today.
Today's going to be
Wait till the
great.
weekend.
Fight the wind, and I mean, we're mid-60s today.
68 on Monday. I'm going to look forward to that.
Oh yeah,
There you go.
We just got to be careful with our travel on Thursday.
I know. I try to look at the bright side, but you got to prepare for now.
No, it's not going to be too bad.
All right. Thanks, Michael. Up next, COVID numbers continue to drop, but the controversy surrounding masks continues. Later, sports mascots from around the country join in the search for one of their own. You're watching the KOAM Morning News on Fox 14.
Welcome.
COVID cases continue to fall in the U.S., but controversy surrounding masks is not letting up. CBS News' Laura Podesta has the latest.
COVID was the second leading cause of death in January in the U.S., overtaking cancer, according to the Kaiser Family Foundation. Still, COVID cases are falling. The 7-day average is now just over 175,000, down more than 78% since the Omicron peak in January.
I think at some point the American public is just losing it in terms of saying, we just don't have the fortitude.
Dr. John Swartzberg studies infectious diseases at UC Berkeley. With more than 16,000 deaths nationwide this past week, he believes masks are still necessary, but that some politicians are removing the requirement to appease frustrated constituents.
I think the politicians are sensing that, and they're making a decision based upon that.
In the last week, 11 states have announced they're rolling back mask mandates. A CBS News poll shows a majority of Americans still support those mandates. In California, the mask requirement for indoor public places is set to expire today. Health officials announced masking inside schools will continue at least until the end of the month.
We are taking a little bit more time to consider the information, work with our partners across the state to make sure when the move is made, that we are doing it successfully and with communities empowered to continue to be safe.
Many states are waiting until the youngest Americans can get vaccines before dropping masks in school. On Friday, Pfizer said it needs more time to gather trial data before seeking FDA emergency use authorization for children under 5. Laura Podesta, CBS News.
The American Academy of Pediatrics reports the number of new COVID cases among children is down nearly 53% from last week. Well, Camilla, the Duchess of Cornwall, tests positive for COVID-19. Camilla says she is self-isolating and following government guidelines. A royal source says the Duchess is triple vaccinated. Her husband, Prince Charles, tested positive last week. Movie fans can get in on the action this Oscar Awards season. The Academy of Motion Pictures, Arts, and Scientists recently revealed a new fan-voted category. And now anyone can vote for a 2021 movie to win the title. Just use the hashtag #OscarsFanFavorite on Twitter between now and Thursday, March 3rd. The winner will be revealed during the awards show. Fans can also vote for their favorite movie scene using the hashtag #OscarsCheerMoment. The winning scene will be played during the broadcast. Yeah, why not?
The old Viewer's Choice Award, huh?
Yeah.
Have you watched any of the movies of the year?
No. Not some, I'm trying to remember if I've seen any of them. The main ones that have gotten all the awards and nominations, no, not yet.
I've seen a couple, not a whole lot.
Yeah.
Power of the Dog was good.
I have not seen that.
Yeah.
I need to watch it.
Definitely worth it. Let's take a live look outside of 7th and Rangeline. Current conditions as we sit just about 7:15, and what's going to shape up to be a really nice afternoon. It's just going to be windy. Look at that humidity. It's already down around 47%. And then we got to combo that with wind coming out of the south. And that is indeed why I'm just going to sound like a broken record this morning and say no what? Oh, Tanya was trying to get my attention right there. I thought I thought I had said something wrong when I said sound like a broken record. Please know outdoor burning. We got the red flag warning because of the high winds and the very, very low humidity. Just not something we're going to be able to shake. But get outside, brave the wind, and enjoy some wonderful February temperatures as we'll make it up into the 60s. Not a whole lot of action as far as if you get underneath the jet stream right there. Starting to see a little bit of this begin to grow up by the Canadian border. But once again, we've got couple days before it gets to us. Here's our weather trend for the afternoon. Top out around 65, 66 degrees. Just going to be perfect for this time of year. Now, as far as what's coming, number one, let's talk thunderstorm risk. Now, you'll notice on the banner there, that's for Wednesday into Thursday. This is Wednesday night into Thursday. And the farther south that you sink, we do see that low category pop in there. Remember, the very light green, that is simply just thunderstorms. That's not worry of anything severe. And then that marginal level is that darker green, because here's what we've got headed our way. We'll start with scattered rainfall for tomorrow morning, and this should not have any bearing on our travel concerns for Wednesday. We'll pick up though in the afternoon and especially Wednesday night. There will begin to intensify. Also too, look at our gap in temperatures. 62 in Joplin compared to 43 in Chanute. So just on the backside of what starts as the rain comes the extreme cold air. And that's why with all that moisture up in there, it flips right on over to freezing rain for Thursday morning, and it'll do so pre-sunrise, so we will have travel concerns for Thursday. May pick up some black ice out there on the road. And then as we progress into Thursday, a little past sunrise there, as the freezing rain drops along I-44, snow replaces it. Probably looking at anywhere from 1 to 2 inches of snow as well. As far as the 7-day forecast goes, oh, by the way, because we are talking about travel concerns, it's going to be frigid on Thursday as well. It is going to be cold. We'll have some single-digit wind chills throughout Thursday before we're back into the 40s on Friday. We'll be back with more KOAM Morning News on Fox 14 right after this.
Dear Winter, my squad of 16 vehicles with all-wheel drive and four-wheel drive is revving to go. Bundle up.
The reward for the growing of the reward for the mascot of the Portland Pickles baseball team. We did a story a couple days ago. It's the costume. I don't want you to think that they actually stole a person. Porch Pirates stole the mascot costume earlier this week, and now fans ponying up various items for the safe return. You've got concert tickets, you've got $1,000 worth of pickles, and here's your update. Joe English has more on those helping with this frantic search.
About 5 years ago, a thief broke into Timber Joey's car. He's the mascot of the Portland Timbers and stole all his gear. A sharp-eyed K2 News crew spotted somebody on the street wearing it. Timber Joey got it back. Pickles fans hope the same thing happens this time around. On the off chance that somebody puts that costume on and walks down the street, what would your reaction be?
Oh my gosh, I think that we'd all have to just like citizens arrest, right? Like, what are you doing, bro? Like, you have to return this. Yeah, you're not the real Dylan, you're an imposter.
Mascots from New Hampshire to Texas to California, even Canada are getting the word out about Dylan on Twitter. Kristen Solomon came into the team store to buy a bobblehead for her friend who just had a son named Dylan, D-I-L-L-O-N. And this whole story is turning her into a Pickles fan.
Making me get excited about supporting the team and getting out there to see a game.
Could it be that's what the team ultimately has in mind? So some of the conspiracy theorists say maybe this is just a big PR stunt.
It could be. We don't really know, right? I mean, it would be a brilliant one.
Team's general manager and security chief deny this is a stunt. He says they appreciate the attention Dylan's getting, but they really just want the pickle costume back. We'll be back with today's four-state hero right after this.
Hi.
It's time to honor today's four-state hero, Lieutenant Richard Finnerty. The Parsons, Kansas native served in the Army from 1942 to 1946. In Italy, he was awarded the Purple Heart. To Lieutenant Richard Finnerty, we thank you, today's four-state hero. Remember trading those Valentine's Day cards with your classmates? Well, my kids still do it today. A note written nearly 8 decades ago recently resurfaced at a Minnesota antique shop. John Lauritsen explains why the person who found the card makes the story even sweeter.
There's a little bit of everything. There's antiques, and then there's some new home decor.
When it comes to Pond Road Market in Mankato, Claire Julian is a regular.
This one's from Iowa.
She enjoys making new discoveries among old merchandise. But nothing prepared her for what she found a couple weeks ago.
Someone said, oh, there's a big box of old vintage Valentines. We should go down and look at them.
The card on the very top of the pile stopped Claire in her tracks.
And I turned it over and I got goosebumps. I'm like, I can't believe this. This is my great aunt Arlene's Valentine. this is what it said. I'm brushing up for you, Valentine.
Arlene Brecky wrote that card to a classmate nearly 80 years ago while attending a two-room schoolhouse near Vernon Center.
It's kind of ironic, isn't it? At school, we'd make our little boxes, and then your classmates would put Valentines in the boxes.
It's hard to comprehend the journey that little card took over the course of nearly 80 years. How it ended up going from an old country school to a store in Mankato remains a mystery. The fact that Claire is the one who found it may have been fate. The two have a special bond.
The day of my wedding was actually the day of her husband's funeral, which was really, really sad, and I didn't expect to see her.
But Arlene made it for the reception.
It was a moment I don't really have words for, but it meant everything to me.
Now they can share a Valentine's Day made, not with candy and flowers, but with a little card and a little bit of nostalgia.
Well, I always believe in angels, and somehow it must have been an angel taking care of the Valentine to end up with Claire.
Oh, that's sweet. The friend who originally received the Valentine's Day card is now 93 years old and is still living in Mankato. Oh, they can trade again. Another half hour of news and weather is just ahead. Coming up on the KOAM Morning News on Fox 14, the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air is coming back, but with a dramatic new look and attitude. We'll take a look and we'll show you a Missouri business that has products hitting the shelves nationwide. You're watching the KOAM Morning News on Fox 14. We'll be right back.
Sale is even big. The 4 states' most watched news starts now.
Welcome back to the KOAM Morning News on Fox 14. It's currently 7:31. Let's take a look at today's top stories. Investigators began digging through the rubble to determine the cause of the massive fire that smoldered for 4 days and engulfed a $65 million luxury apartment complex. It happened in Oklahoma City at the complex that was under construction. At least 80 firefighters working in 6-hour rotations were called in to help extinguish the blaze. It began on Tuesday at the 326-unit complex. No injuries were reported. Oklahoma City firefighters were helped in their efforts to put out lingering flames by demolition crews who cleared areas and allowed access to hot spots. Luxury apartment complex had been scheduled to open sometime in the spring. A Missouri prosecutor will not bring charges against a St. Louis Post-Dispatch journalist who exposed a state database flaw, one that allowed public access to thousands of teachers' Social Security numbers. Cole County Prosecutor Locke Thompson released a statement saying the issues at the heart of the investigation have been resolved through non-legal means. Republican Governor Mike Parson announced the investigation in October after a Post-Dispatch reporter informed the state of a significant data issue that left the teachers' data vulnerable to public disclosure. The newspaper held off publishing a story about the flaw until the state fixed it. The leader of the Missouri Senate says he is trying to find a magic path to an agreement on a congressional redistricting plan for his state. The Senate met in a rare Saturday session as a filibuster by a conservative coalition continued. Republicans hold 6 of the 8 U.S. House seats. A redistricting plan passed by the Missouri House is projected to continue that. Conservative senators are pushing for a map that could give Republicans a shot at 7 seats. And Kansas officials face 2 lawsuits over Republican redistricting law. The lawsuits filed on Monday challenge a map that cost the state's only Democrat in Congress some of the territory in her Kansas City area district that she carries by wide margins in elections. A team of attorneys filed a lawsuit in Wyandotte County District Court in the Kansas City area. American Civil Liberties Union of Kansas filed another shortly afterward. Lawsuits argue the map enacted last week is unacceptable because it splits Kansas City, Kansas, and decreases the number of minority voters in U.S. Representative Sharif David's district. The Republicans reject those criticisms. Well, you are invited to help Carthage, Missouri choose the theme for the 56th annual Maple Leaf Festival. City is accepting submissions through February 28th. People who want to submit an entry should provide their theme suggestion, name, address, daytime phone number, and email. For information on how to submit a suggestion, go to our website at KOAMnewsnow.com. Well, big hometown welcome for Olympic gold medalist Nick Baumgardner. He was welcomed home in a big parade in Iron City, Michigan on Monday. That's after taking the gold Saturday in the mixed team snowboard cross in Beijing with Lindsay Jacobellis. The two had to come from behind to win their final heat. This was Baumgartner's first medal in Beijing and the second for his teammate. More celebrations in Iron River are expected in the coming days.
Pretty cool shot right there. That entire town turning out like that.
Yeah, got a reason to celebrate.
I'm going to guess it's probably not a very big town.
I hadn't heard of it. So
I was listening to a radio show yesterday, and this gentleman was talking about his small town of North Carolina being with all the lights orange for the Cincinnati Bengals.
Oh.
He's in a small town in North Carolina. You can tell the radio hosts were trying to put this together.
What's the connection?
And they're like,
different state,
they're like,
yeah.
you're in North Carolina? He's like, yeah, one stoplight town, North Carolina. They're like, what?
Somebody on the team is from there.
CJ Phillips is my son.
There you go.
He was just calling into a talk show, and his son had just played in the Super Bowl.
That's cool. That's cool.
I love
And he has
it.
his whole town supporting. That's
Right.
That's the cool thing about small town.
That was great. All right, Tanya, we were talking about 1 year ago. Check out that record dating back to 2021. 8 below zero is where we were on February the 15th. My goodness, all of a sudden that cold front working in on Thursday doesn't seem too bad. The fact that it will at least stay in the 20s with single-digit wind chills. Red flag warnings in effect for today because the winds are going to gust 30 to 35 miles per hour. There we are, gorgeous start over Joplin right now. We've been able to keep our wind pretty much at bay. We've jockeyed back and forth between 10 and 12 miles per hour, but the humidity already sinking down to 47%. Joplin has been our high point right now at 46. We've got Parsons and Carthage right behind at 45. And then let's go Miami right there at 44. Now the weather trend, we got another 20 degrees to go this afternoon. We'll be up into the mid 60s. But we also know that we've got the big changes that coming on Future Track. Those will kick in tomorrow morning, start with the scattered variety, just some raindrops every now and then. We pick up in earnest Wednesday night with some intense rain, then thunderstorm activity, but the key factor right there is really the freezing rain that we see developed very, very early Thursday morning that will impact our travel before it flips over to snow. And don't forget, multiple layers as well, because we're going to go from, let's say, about the 60s around midnight all the way down to the 20s. Be back with more KOAM Morning News on Fox 14 right after this.
In America.
On the KOAM News Now Facebook page in our morning Insta poll, Valentine's Day and specifically spending. Now that the day is in the books, retailers can count it up. With the National Retail Federation expected people to spend $24 billion with a B, $24 billion this year alone. That's up from last year. In fact, if it gets to 24 bill, second highest spending year on record. Average about $175 per person. Our question to you, how much did you spend on Valentine's Day this year? Right now, 61% of you say we kept it relatively modest, in between $1 and $20. 30% of you went in between $21 and $40. Only 6% did more than $60. Appreciate everybody's engagement each and every morning. Fresh Prince of Bel-Air getting a reboot. Finds West Philadelphia's Will in a more modern and a much more dramatic story. Our man, Rick DeMiguelo, with the story.
This time we're trying to make you forget who you are and where you came from.
Newcomer Jabari Banks makes his on-screen debut as Will in Bel-Air. And just like his character, Jabari is from Philadelphia, finding himself rushed to Southern California for the first time.
I went to theater school in Philadelphia, dropped out, and then I had just been auditioning, working, and trying to make something happen.
Let's go find you something fit for a prince.
What do you think? I booked the role, and 2 days later, I was, out in LA. First time in LA, screen tests, fittings, and whatnot. And then the week after that, I was filming in Philly on a TV show. Right, and so I got shot out of a cannon.
Be the Will who charmed West Philly with his talent and swag.
We learned from him, because there's
He's just so
he's
open.
he's so open and free, and he's not jaded, over years and years. Sometimes you can get a little bit, just a little bit.
Listen, I'm agreeing with
scared to take risks.
The series also takes risks as a drama looking at today's issues.
In the original Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, a lot of Carlton's struggles were played for laughs. Like, it was always, you have this kid who doesn't know how to be black. He's pretty much a white kid. But I love that the show explores the darker side of that. What are the ramifications of a 16-year-old kid not feeling like he belongs in his own community?
We have a different set of rules here, okay? If you want to do well, just keep your head down and follow my lead.
Whoa, whoa. Man, I'm a rep West Philly wherever I go.
In Hollywood, I'm Rick Damagella.
Be back with Consumer Watch right after this.
SpaceX has sent people to space, and now it's going to let them outside the ship as part of the program named Polaris. SpaceX will send 4 astronauts into space and let at least one of them perform a spacewalk. The risky maneuver could happen as soon as this year. How exciting. Well, a Black-owned cosmetics business in Kansas City found a new level of success during Black History Month. Pink Lips Cosmetics now has its products on shelves across the nation. Abby Dodge takes a look.
Finding the perfect shade is trial and error. Kenyatta Grant is the founder and CEO of Pink Lips.
What else does she like?
She's been supplying Kansas Cityans with their perfect color since 2011.
And then strut.
When you're feeling
Spicy, date night, yes.
But it started in her family kitchen with a pink gloss for her daughter, a shade she still sells today.
It makes me feel like I'm really on the right path. Like, I'm accomplishing my goals, and it's really keeping me going.
And good thing she never stopped.
So I feel a little overwhelmed, but I'm so grateful for the moment.
Back in August of 2020, CBS News reported that Black businesses were twice as likely to fail during the pandemic. Kenyatta says getting through that time was hard, but the success she's found on the other side of it is that much more rewarding.
It was so exhilarating. It was. Like, I'm a big crier, so inside I was just like, I can't believe it.
But when Target calls, you pick up the phone. Starting this month, Kenyatta's products are in stores and online.
So it hit me later, like, oh my God, this is Black History Month. We're doing this in Black History. It feels good. It feels really good. I feel like I've made a lot of people proud.
Kenyatta credits some of her achievements to social justice movements that woke up the world.
Everybody was like, okay, how can we assist these businesses? How can we assist these communities? How can we help them? And I really think that that's what it took. Sadly, that's what it took. I feel like I've made my whole community proud.
While also making them look fierce.
Or if you're interested in Pink Lips products but can't make it to a Target, you can also order them online. We'll be right back with more after this, but first let's take a look at the market prices before the opening bell.
Here at Abernathy Roof.
We often hear of the need for human blood donors to help those in need, but the same is true for dogs and cats that are sick or injured and need transfusions. John Stofflet shows us how donor dogs and cats are making a difference for other pets in need.
It's time, Carlos! You ready?
Carlos the Greyhound has an appointment at UW Veterinary Care.
1, 2, 3.
He comes here once a month.
Yeah, buddy. Good boy.
Carlos has probably been a part of our program for about 2 or 3 years now.
He's not sick. He's here to help other dogs that are.
Buddy, get you all tucked in. Carlos is a great donor. One, he loves people. He loves coming in. He knows that it's a treat involved. His mom says he talks the whole entire way in. So it's just going to be a little poke, my love.
A retired racetrack dog, Carlos is one of 29 canines and 14 cats that donate blood regularly at the UW Veterinary Care Blood Bank.
There we go, buddy.
They help other animals that need transfusions to stay alive.
So vital because there's no replacement for blood. Just like with humans, in our ICU right now, there's probably 3 other animals that could be using transfusions this week. We've already done 5 transfusions already this week. So it's very vital.
Vital for dogs like Chauncey.
It's still shocking. We just don't know how it happened.
Just a few months back, Chauncey got into some poison outdoors and nearly bled to death.
He was very sick. He was very sick.
Using blood from the clinic's donor bank, doctors were able to give Chauncey several transfusions.
Without that blood, what would have happened?
He would have died. He would have died.
Just a few months later, he's back to being an active 15-month-old.
Sit, sit. Good boy, stay. Stay.
And the Yules are grateful for those who bring in their pets to donate.
Well, because it can potentially save other dogs' lives.
He says he knows he's done. Look at you, buddy. He knows he did a good job.
For Emma, it makes it all worthwhile to see donations from dogs like Carlos save the lives of dogs like Chauncey.
It's also good to see it all the way through. I know who it came from. I know who it went to. And I've said it before, a little bit of my soul is in every single one of the donations and blood products. Here you go. Yeah. There you go. Good job.
Carlos, retired from the racetrack.
He's a champion in this every day.
This is pretty interesting. It turns out greyhounds are universal blood donors for nearly all other canines. But of course, your dog does not have to be a greyhound to donate. Nice looking start to our Tuesday. Already sitting at 46 degrees in Joplin. A whole bunch of 45s running from Carthage up to Lamar, and then straight over from Pittsburgh to Parsons to Neodesha, Miami, and Nevada are both at 44 degrees. Kick in that southerly breeze and a whole bunch of sunshine, lift us up into the mid-60s here later on today, and our humidity already falling, and so we do have the red flag warning. Expiration time 7 p.m. tonight. Often we talk about elevated fire risks. This time we actually have a warning in effect. Let's take a look at our humidity over 7th and Rangeline, see just how far down we've gone. We've been holding steady here lately, but 47% still very, very low, especially when you consider that's about where we started. Let's take a look at future track and start with rain that eventually will go to freezing rain that will eventually end up in snow. Now, we won't get started until tomorrow morning, and when we do get started, very light, very scattered. And we really don't pick up in earnest till after sunset tomorrow. Then we get our heavy rain that begins to roll through. And on top of that, watch the flip over here. There we see the freezing rain early Thursday morning. And that's going to impact some travel there, especially along and north of I-44, and eventually sinking down around 44. Replace that with snow on the backside, probably about 1 to 2 inches. Until it's done. As far as the way wind chill is going to go, watch the color contour and the difference that it will quickly make as we will just plummet down. And I stopped it right here because I wanted to point out the difference from the top to the bottom. 13-degree wind chill in Yates Center, still 57 though, down south of I-44. So it shows you when it does roll through, it's going to roll through quick. Those temperatures just going to drop right out of the sky. Luckily, we get some sunshine back into the 40s on Friday, and we'll be back. Wrap up this edition of the KOAM Morning News on Fox 14 right after this.
Dear Winter, my squad of 16.
Welcome back to the KOAM Morning News on Fox 14. Here's what's happening today. The Kremlin signals it is ready to keep talking with the West about security concerns that led to the current Ukraine crisis. This offers a sliver of hope that Russia may not invade its neighbor within, as the U.S. and European allies fear. The Canadian government aims to cut off financial support for protesters staging blockades at border crossings. It invoked the country's Emergencies Act, meaning banks will now have the power to freeze personal or corporate accounts they believe are being used to fund illegal protest. And former President Donald Trump's longtime accounting firm informed the Trump Organization it should no longer rely on nearly 10 years worth of financial statements. The company also advised the Trump Organization to inform any recipients of the statements, such as lenders or insurers, to not rely on the statements. That's a check. Let's check in with Michael with a final look at your forecast.
It's going to be a nice day temperature-wise, mid-60s. I mean, that's hard to beat for the middle of February, but man, is it going to be windy. It already is. It's already kicked in. Remember, very low humidity. Try to take advantage, though, of 2 days of temps that are going to stay in the 60s, because remember, Wednesday night, that's when we get started. We'll start with rain, flip that over into some freezing rain, and eventually end up with some snow.
Sunday was a big night for LA Rams wide receiver Van Jefferson, who is now both a Super Bowl champion and a new dad. His wife, Samaria, went into labor in the middle of Super Bowl 56. Well, he was doing his best to beat the Cincinnati Bengals on the field. Jefferson posted a photo to his Instagram story after the big game, showing him cradling his newborn baby boy. His caption simply stated, quote, ×2. That's a reference to the fact that he and his childhood sweetheart are also parents to their 5-year-old daughter, Bella.
When I first heard the story, I tried to track down. I don't know if they told Van, his wife was there at kickoff. She left.
Yeah.
Approximately the second quarter. I don't know if anybody told Van it was going on.
It's kind of a catch-22. Like, she would want him there, but she wouldn't want to mess with his head.
Yeah, no, to each their own. That's a
Yeah.
family decision. I just was curious about if somebody grabbed him and was like, oh, Van, we're taking Smart to the hospital.
She just got too excited. Too excited. How
Thank
awesome.
you all for letting us put the good in your morning. We will be back with more news and weather when we see you at noon.
Have a great morning and an even better day.
Are you dreaming about building a home